This is Brittany Lando on Nuclear Pakistan, Considering the Threat. To understand a nuclear Pakistan and the threat for today and the future, it is really necessary to know the beginning. To apply a common adage, to understand where they're going, you have to know where they've been. It's hard to imagine that the original vision of the country of Pakistan was inclusion and peace. The father of the country, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, made it repeatedly clear that he visualized Pakistan as a democracy guaranteeing fundamental rights to all its citizens, irrespective of their beliefs. The denial of these rights in India was one of the reasons why Muslims created Pakistan. Jinnah stated that Pakistan was not going to be a theocratic state, to be ruled by priests with a divine mission. Non-Muslim minorities, he said, would enjoy the same rights and privileges as any other citizens and will play their rightful part in the affairs of Pakistan. Today, many different theocratic states abound in Pakistan's corrupt government, ruling with varying divine missions which Jinnah wanted to avoid. Even the majority Muslim citizens do not enjoy rights and privileges and are significantly oppressed and prevented from playing a rightful part in the affairs of Pakistan. Jinnah passed away just a year after the founding of his hope-filled and beloved Pakistan. The leadership from that time forward has been fraught with corruption, propaganda, oppression of its citizens, and instability. Even before the establishment of Pakistan, the seeds of abandonment, mistrust, and fear for safety and security were sown amongst the Pakistani people. The British hastily exited, drawing a narrowly thought-out border as their last act. The border left out resources and infrastructure, and the removal of the British rule without any transitional logistics, support, and structure left the country in dire straits. Much like this child left in a dump, the people of India and Pakistan were left to sink or swim and destroy each other in the process. The British took what they wanted from the vast region and its people for a handful of centuries. In their final act of inhumanity, they left the people to figure out their own situations with tensions, confusion, and losses high. Imagine leaving all that you knew behind to go and live amongst people of your same faith but varying tribes and traditions while fighting rivals and losing lives, family, and friends in the process. The whole partition process went terribly, and the effects linger in devastating ways to this day. The borders are weak, the fighting is incessant, the fear and mistrust are high, the leadership is confusing and corrupt, and not for the people. The threats are real, the oppression is increasing, the support from allies is conditional and lacking. Is it any wonder that the country seems to respond in mostly reactionary ways, even and maybe especially in its nuclear program? It isn't even close to the combination of all the problems that contribute to the nuclear danger that is Pakistan today. So how and why and where did Pakistan get nuclear technology in the first place? It seems the earliest desires for nuclear weapons were in the 50s, with leadership vowing to match India's acquisition in an effort to not be bullied by their archenemy. The stars did align for such things to come about, but not until the early to mid-70s. The catalyst came in the form of Bangladesh and its fight for independence from Pakistan. Bangladesh was East Pakistan. The involvement of India in the fight for Bangladesh's independence was embarrassing and maddening for Pakistan. The irony is that the loss of East Pakistan could have been avoided if Pakistan had allowed for East Pakistan representation in the government. The drive to obtain nuclear weapons was ultimately based on consequences of their own internal failings. Of course, it's not perceived this way by Pakistan. The less than 30-year-old country at the time was in a consistent downward spiral, and in their weak state, in walks A.Q. Khan. A.Q. Khan was a Pakistani who had found success in his scientific brilliance. He found himself, prior to the loss of East Pakistan, living rather comfortably in a job at the Dutch centrifuge plant. This job allowed him to steal nuclear secrets, and his long successful school and work careers, coupled with his amiable personality, allowed him to make the contacts necessary to build the foundation for today's Pakistani nuclear program. After Bangladesh, Khan felt a drive to return to his native land and build the nuclear program to create the strength necessary to prevent such a thing from happening in his homeland again. The future of Pakistan's nuclear program is unclear. Many reports have indicated that the arsenal is quickly growing, and it will be the third or fifth largest nuclear program by 2025. A recent report by the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace indicates that this is not a likely finding, and it's realistic that Pakistan's nuclear arsenal will grow in the short term, but the growth will not be unbridled and will certainly be far less than suggested in some recent studies. Regardless of the size, the dangers are clear and present. The region remains highly unstable. Pakistan is still considering one of the greatest, if not greatest, risks of nuclear weapons falling into the wrong hands. The transport of nuclear weapons and technology is primitive, often in unsecured bands. The leadership of Pakistan is power-hungry and corrupt, and at odds with one another. The intention is to make the smaller grade nuclear weapons to be able to make a full spectrum deterrence approach happen in order to combat the larger and more skilled Indian Army, which is to say they will compensate for their weaker conventional resources with smaller but devastating nuclear weapons. The increase is ongoing. While many countries are maintaining their cash, Pakistan's intention is to continue to grow. Pakistan and India's approach has been Cold War-esque in this way. The controls and transparency of their program is non-existent. The reactionary and fear-filled volatile nature has not improved. In fact, it's getting worse. The international ramifications are significant. The possibilities and realities are scary. And the list really does go on. So what is our greatest hope to address this reality? Ideally, with international cooperation, support allies could assist in creating stability, better democracy, and infrastructure in Pakistan. The challenges to this is the lack of trust that Pakistan has for major allies. They have been used and abandoned and fought against too much. The greatest hope to allay the fears of international community would be peace between India and Pakistan. There have been talks around such occurrences, but in the last 10 to 15 years, but with increasing turmoil and violence in the region, it seems unlikely this will occur. We can all hope and pray. For the sake of the international community at large and for the realization of peace and prosperity in a country that has had nonstop hardship and turmoil, let us all pray, and God be with us all. Thank you for watching.